Hi, this is Nick Powell, reporter with City and State. Joining me today is a former mayoral candidate and president and CEO of our publication City and State, Tom Allon. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks.
So, Tom, you were at one point a Republican candidate for mayor. You dropped out of the race. Your one-time opponent, Joe Lhota, has gotten the nomination. What is his path to victory, do you think? Does he have a path to victory?
I think there is a path to victory. It's a tough one, and I think certainly the polls that have come out this week have indicated that he's got a huge amount of ground to make up. But that said, in 2001, I thought Mark Green was a shoo-in to be the next mayor. Obviously, Barack Obama was an obscure candidate before he came on. So anything can happen in politics, and it's still 2 months away. Lhota will have to really very quickly move up in the polls, be very aggressive in the way that he goes at de Blasio on public safety and the future of the city. And I think if he can do that and he ticks up in the polls to 30-35%, then I think he could get a little momentum and certainly will make it more competitive. But he has to be very aggressive the next 2 weeks.
Now, Bill de Blasio obviously rode like a huge wave of momentum in the later stages of the primary. Were you surprised at any of the Democratic primary results, specifically that Christine Quinn dropped so much and de Blasio surged as much as he did?
Yeah, I think it was a perfect storm that de Blasio was the candidate of change and Christine Quinn was the candidate of the status quo. And I guess everybody underestimated the amount of Bloomberg fatigue there would be over the summer. Stop and frisk became a huge issue over the summer, which was really a referendum on this administration. And Christine Quinn was, also ran a bad campaign. And so all those things conspired. And then, of course, there was the Anthony Weiner factor. When he came in and he surged up there a little bit to 25%, as soon as the air went out of his balloon, all those votes went straight to de Blasio, not to Thompson or to Quinn. The thing that surprised me the most, I think, is that Bill Thompson didn't do better, and I think that there was a good piece in the New York Times the other day in which Neil Quattro, I thought hit it on the head. I think that whole idea of coalition politics and identity politics is probably a thing of the past.
Interesting. Do you think that the third term played a role in Quinn losing some steam in the later stages of the race?
Yeah, I think just being as close as she was to the mayor and identified with that overturning of the people's will, it galvanized. I mean, listen, I've been covering campaigns for a while. I've rarely seen such a well-organized and a vociferous anti-attack movement as you saw with the Anybody But Quinn forces. They had some money. They were out at subway stations. There were no other candidates who had people who were out there literally campaigning against them. So I think all those things conspired against Christine Quinn.
Right. Now, Lhota enters the general election with a major fundraising advantage. I mean, do you see any way that he can kind of bridge that gap? Do you think IEs will play a role in that?
I think part of it is going to be how well he does the next 2 or 3 weeks. If he shows that he can make this competitive race, I think you'll see money coming off the sidelines. But if he doesn't tick up in the polls or he doesn't get some momentum on an issue, I think money won't come his way because I think people are not going to bet on such a huge long shot.
Right. Now, de Blasio has campaigned on like you said as a change candidate. He has a real progressive. His proposal to tax the wealthy to pay for universal preschool in the city has been kind of has been prodded and there's been some holes poked in it. Do you think that realistically that's something that Albany will have the appetite to get done?
I can't imagine that happens in 2014 because it's an election year in Albany, and I don't think Andrew Cuomo or Shelley Silver or Dean Skelos is going to allow something like that to go further. 2015, it's possible. I mean, listen, if de Blasio wins by a huge margin in this year and has a strong first year and he can make some allies upstate, then maybe he has a shot at that. Although, again, when I was campaigning, that was one of the things that I disagreed with Bill about. Even though I do think he's right, universal pre-K is very important. I think $500 million out of a $25 billion education budget can be found by cutting costs, not outsourcing as many contracts as the city does. So I think that $500 million that Bill's looking for can be found without raising taxes. And that's, again, the argument I think Joe Lhota is making. Bill de Blasio had a great populist argument. And at a time when people are feeling squeezed and the middle class and the lower class feels that the rich are getting richer, and they're right, a populist message resonates. And let's face it, de Blasio got 265,000 votes out of a city of 8 million people. There's a lot of angry people about Bloomberg and about the way the city's going in terms of wealth. And I think those people came out and voted for Bill de Blasio.
Now, shifting gears a little bit, you purchased City and State as a standalone publication, and it's we've undergone a lot of changes since then. How do you see the publication fitting into the ever-evolving New York City media landscape?
Sure. I mean, I made a decision to buy City and State back in March. That was really the reason why I exited the race, because I think we are covering politics, and you and your team are doing such an amazing job that First Read is now, everybody in the political world reads First Read. 22,000 people get it every morning. It's baked into the cake. Everybody loves it. The long-form journalism that we're doing in the print product is something that no one else is really doing, because really the dailies are cutting back on their political coverage. The events that we do are thoughtful public policy events or recognition events in the political field. So I think we're doing three relatively unique things. There are competitors that will come into the market and that'll leave the market, but we have relationships in this community. We have a great editorial team that breaks news, but also does thoughtful analysis of the news. And we also provide people with a very valuable service every morning and every afternoon with a digest of all the news they need to know in a very compact way. So, I love this business. I think it has huge potential, and I think it's already starting to realize some of that potential. Obviously, this video that we're doing now is a new initiative that we started doing. Last Read is a new initiative that we did. And we have other ideas down the road that we're going to do. But right now, I couldn't be prouder of what the journalists on this team are doing.
Tom Allon, President and CEO of City and State, thank you for joining us. And for more editions of Last Look, visit our website at www.cityandstateny.com.